Let's get this party started!
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amidst chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome...
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
The White House decides to do a press briefing every time. Every time I'm scheduled to be on Newsmax, out of the blue, here comes a White House press briefing that delays everything. So that is why our broadcast is a delayed start today. Thank you for hanging on and being here today. You can help us very quickly right now by getting us a thumbs up, a double tap on the screen if you're watching on TikTok. We are not streaming through the Died Suddenly feed today because we would have about 7 minutes there on that feed. So we're just on our own platforms, which means we need your help to get the word out as quick as possible to get people in here. That's what the algorithm relies on is, the most interaction as soon as the show starts, the better. All right. So that being said, where does that put us? Okay. If you're watching on TikTok, you can come over to X or Rumble and see what we're showing you on the screen. Sorry, I literally just got off the air with Newsmax, so I'm a little flabbergasted here. So we're going to talk about Epstein. What's the latest with Epstein? Where is this saga going? What could be going on? I see Cap Hill Frenchie in the chat on Rumble. What's up? Somebody in TikTok. Do you have any t-shirts available that complain about America? I heard you have lots of, and they ran out of characters. Why don't you go look for yourself, troll? Thank you, Cap Hill. $20 on the board. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Cap Hill. We are funded by your contributions, Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble, just like Cap Hill Frenchie did there. So the Epstein situation, what's really going on? We're going to try to extract and sort of analyze some of what is being said here. What is the GENUIS Act? Some people are very concerned about it. Some people are super happy about it, especially the crypto bros. And then we have new Trump polling. We've been talking about the polling after the Epstein situation. Rasmussen has approvals way down. You've got parts of MAGA just beside themselves, specifically the Alex Jones contingent. And what is polling saying? We have CNN polling, so we'll show you that. And then some really positive economic indicators are out today as well. Okay, and so those are all things that we are going to cover today. So it's a good day, is it not? It's a good day, and hopefully, I'm just going to tease this briefly. Hopefully, we have some positive news to give you. It's not maybe necessarily positive specifically to you. It is, though, if you've been supporting the show and wanting to see it get opportunity. And so I'll leave it at that until it's a done deal. That being said, I think I've hit everything I'm supposed to hit before we get into the content. So why don't we do that? I want to see your comments throughout the show on what we're talking about specifically, rather than, what you're making for dinner. I mean, you can do that, but please, I rely on your comments to get your feedback on what is going on. I value your voice more than you know, when it comes to the heartbeat of America, and that's what you guys are. And so that is what we that's what we want you to do. Okay, sorry, I'm all over the place here today. Chase on TikTok says America is crumbling because of Trump. Really, what's happening? What has crumbled What have you been denied? If you're an illegal immigrant, I can understand you saying that viewpoint, but what is going on, Chase? Chase 33 on TikTok with a picture of a dog. And I await your informed response, Chase. All right. I see Rocky is in the chat as well. We've got CJ in the chat on X says, why is Ghislaine, I'm going to just say it properly, Ghislaine Maxwell still in prison if they have no evidence? I'm so confused. Well, that is the kicker. Congress wants her to testify, and she may do it if they give her any kind of deal. I doubt they will, but that's the question. If there are no other victims, why is she in jail? Why do we have dozens of settlement deals with people other than Epstein regarding Epstein? And why do we have actual victims that have since become deceased, like Virginia Giuffre saying that she was a victim? No other victims. I mean, it is not a stretch at all to at least name Prince Andrew. I mean, that's been established. So it's not making sense. And further, President Trump doubled down on the irrelevance of these files yesterday in a Truth Social post, saying it's basically the radical left. They've hit pay dirt with the fake Steele dossier, the lying 51 spies, laptop from hell. And this is another, and Russia. And this is another fake made up story in order to allow the Democrats to attack Trump, which on its surface, you read that and you go, wait a minute, what are we talking about? Turn my AC back on. I turn it off during those live hits just in case I had some issues with it making some noise randomly. So the observation here would be, if Trump is diminishing this, does this mean, some are asking, does this mean he's implicated in these files? He says it's fake. So then it leads to the question, wait a minute. We know if Trump was in these files, they would have been released a long time ago. A long time ago. Anybody who thinks that's not the case is just delusional. Probably suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. And did Chase ever... Here are 3 ways America actually gets worse under Trump. All right, Chase, I'm watching. So the question is, why would President Trump diminish these things, these files, and say that it's a scam? He calls it a new scam. He calls it the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, and my past supporters have bought into this BS, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson, probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 years. I don't get this. President Trump's supporters haven't bought what the lunatic left has been peddling. Chase, Trump gave the green light to extremists. Chase, you're going to have to get more specific than that. See what I mean? I mean, Trump's ruining America. He gave the green light to extremists. What does that mean? Did you copy and paste that from MSNBC? What does it actually mean? Okay. And we got Trendy Mama saying not happy with Trump whatsoever and was a huge supporter. There are a lot of people saying that. I don't know, if they are truly Trump supporters or just people that are trying to, fan the flame here. So I'm a little confused by this statement from Trump saying that his supporters have been duped by the lunatic left and they are past supporters, basically. Okay. He says, I've had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in history. And all these people want to talk about, with strong prodding by the fake news, is the Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible, unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Make America great again. Okay. So I'm not understanding this. Okay. We know that. So on the surface, I understand Trump's frustration with the fascination with these files over his achievements. But I would argue these files change nothing about your achievements. No, and I get it. I mean, he has had an incredible month of making things happen. I mean, had an incredible 6 months, but especially the last month, it's just like he just keeps winning and winning and winning. And I understand saying, you're talking about these files from a dead guy, and here we are changing our country for the better in unprecedented matters. Why are you talking about this? So he's right in that sense if he's looking at it as the files diminish anything he's doing or take attention off of it. I would argue that if they would have just released the files, or if they would have just done nothing, not released this ridiculous memo, we wouldn't be talking about it. So if they would have done nothing, it would have been better. But if you want to put this to bed, release information, and and you're going to get a huge win. To me, this is a piece of low-hanging fruit that they're looking past. But that being said, Trump. Well, let me back up. It's very funny right now that Democrats have adopted this as their new crusade. They've never said a peep before about the Epstein files. Okay, and Trump has people guessing after after telling supporters he doesn't need them. I wouldn't have advised that, but Trump usually has some methodology. At the very least, you can say that Trump's communication on this has drawn Democrats out in the open on it to call for it. So you have growing consensus. I mean, you have House Speaker Mike Johnson, who has said they need to be released. You have Laura Trump saying there's going to be more information coming. And the White House just did a press briefing saying, that's up to the Attorney General. She wants to do it, go for it. So you have a lot more people that are aligned on these Epstein files than ever before. So you could argue that Trump is achieving mass attention on this. I would probably argue, from my perspective, that while that may be the case, he could have done it without some of the reaction that he's had. Now, some people point to Trump has been working nonstop. In fact, in that press briefing, they revealed that Trump has CVI, chronic venous insufficiency, where swelling has been happening in his legs. A lot of people have this issue. It's certainly more common for people over 70. It can be from a number of different things. I know people that are in great shape that have this issue, and one of the factors that causes this is, standing for a long period of time. So with Trump's schedule, I couldn't keep his schedule. I'm just going to tell you. And if you're honest, you couldn't either. I mean, this dude is all over the place, traveling all over the place, never stops, barely sleeps. So some people are pointing to he's not feeling well, he's fatigued, and he's just lashing out a little bit unrestricted compared to maybe how he would if he were fully rested and all that. Certainly a possibility. But the issue I have, by and large, I mean, I don't like the way Trump's communicating on it. Okay, I just don't. I think if he's drawing Democrats out, he is endangering his base support, because some people are going to check out and not check back in. So I do have concern growing for the midterms. There's a lot of time between now and then. So, it's more of just in the back of my mind, like this is an unresolved issue that needs to be resolved. Now, you resolve this, it goes away, it's over, it's a big win. Nobody talks about it much anymore. Now, The real issue, though, at hand, you can critique Trump's communication on it, okay, which I have, all right? But I wouldn't say that he's done anything wrong or malicious or nefarious or anything like that. The real issue I have, of course, is with Pam Bondi communicating prior to the memo that the files were on her desk, and she's telling people they have all these videos. Pam Bondi, as I've said before, went from point A to point D without telling us B and C. Okay, she has an obligation because of her communication prior to the release of this memo that was leaked to Axios, by the way, which it is weird that it was released the night before Bibi Netanyahu was visiting from Israel. Kind of weird. Some say it has something to do with that. Some say it is a leverage point. You could argue if there is truth to the allegation that Epstein was a Mossad agent, and there's quite a bit of intel on that. It's been denied vehemently. But if that is the case, there very well could have been communication on purpose leaked the night before he gets here. Pretty coincidental, I would say, right? It seems too coincidental. You leak that to try to appease Netanyahu or tell him, hey, we're not going to release it, but we need you to do some things. That's a possibility. It seems like a pretty narrow benefit versus the cost at this point, but there are so many things we don't know about it. But the overarching point of all of this is, and I've said this before, these files are not going to change anyone's life. They're not going to change anyone's life. I mean, if you're talking about the victims getting justice, you could argue, yeah, that would help them if there's enough evidence there. But these files are not going to close the border. They're not going to bring down interest rates. But they are critical in restoring the public trust and for seeking accountability and the DOJ coming clean. But there's no question this, if unresolved, it could be a stumbling block to be used in the midterms. It could even stain Trump's legacy, depending on how this plays out. I wouldn't say largely, but it would be a negative mark. It's important. It can't be underestimated. It's important. It needs to happen. But I go back to the point I made in the beginning. Trump, don't bet on Trump. NBAT. Never bet against Trump. Okay? He almost always has something that he is up to. And everyone's like, what is he doing? And I've questioned it before. Trump is no dummy. Okay? Even the people that don't like Trump have to admit this guy is no dummy. In fact, Van Jones, radical liberal, has said it on live TV on CNN. This guy is not dumb. He is very smart. So you can't underestimate him. You can't underestimate Trump. Now, the question then comes back to Glenn Beck kind of laid this out last night or yesterday or sometime in the past, whenever that was. And he was pointing to a few options, okay, that there's nothing in it, that they've been altered. Think about all the fingerprints that have been on these files over the years. And you read Trump's statement on it, and it reads like someone has put stuff in there that isn't true. And Trump has said before, we're not going to put out unsubstantiated claims. If it can be substantiated, we will release it. That's what he said yesterday. So it leads you to think that Pam Bondi screwed up the communication on it and that the files, once they actually got them, they were all kinds of manipulated. I think that's a real possibility. However, I would argue, why not say that? Why not say that? Because we know where these files were in the Southern District of New York field office in the FBI, James Comey's daughter working there. By the way, she was working on this. By the way, she failed to prosecute P. Diddy because she went after a RICO charge that was way overarching when they could have nailed the dude if they would have done it right. She's been fired, by the way. So it's not a stretch by any means to have the theory based on the communication that's coming out, based on who we know that was involved, that these files have somehow been manipulated in some way or another. And I would argue that that is precisely what needs to be communicated to the American people by Pam Bondi. I agree, put her in front of a camera. And Trump, they've asked him about a special prosecutor. He has reiterated today he is not in favor of a special prosecutor. Okay. At one time it was asked about it and he sort of was like, oh, maybe. Well, no, he's reiterated today he's not in favor of that. Okay, so Trump truly believes, I think, these files are a big nothing burger. A big nothing burger, and or they've been manipulated. I think that's what we're dealing with here. That doesn't change the fact that some people are coming unraveled about it. The Hodge twins tweeting out Trump needs to read the damn room after watching this clip.
Curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
Okay. So we have somebody who's an anonymous user on TikTok saying he ran his campaign on how big of a deal this was. He actually didn't. Okay. He did not run a campaign on the Epstein files. In fact, back in 2016, he talked about him. He talked about Clinton, but he hasn't talked about it much at all. He was asked about it, but he didn't go on stage and say, we're going to close the border, we're going to get your egg prices down, and we're going to release those Epstein files. He never said that. He never did it. Okay. Now, J.D. Vance said it, Kash Patel said it, Dan Bongino said it. I mean, people inside of his administration did it, but he was asked about the Epstein files and said, yeah, we'll look at that. We'll release it. Yeah. I mean, every time he was asked about it, it didn't seem like it was a huge priority, but he didn't have any reason not to do it. And so I don't know, for President Trump to say, I don't understand what the big deal is about this. Okay, then release it, put it out there. I mean, Trump will do misdirect. He will perform misdirection on you. Just ask Iran. Okay, he will do that. But if he honestly thinks, and I don't know if he does or doesn't, I don't know. The guy's an enigma. That the files are not that big of a deal and he doesn't understand what people's fascination with. This has not been a left wing or, lamestream media talking point at all. This has been on the right calling for transparency and justice on it for the victims and for, just overall transparency. So if he really thinks they're not that big of a deal, then I would say he's not in tune with what's going on, which would be shocking to me. Trump is nearly always in tune, and he says things about issues that are not widely known or talked about at all, and he talks about them, and it's like, oh, wait, we didn't even know this was going on. I mean, a lot of times he's sort of breaking news on his feeds or what he happens to say. I mean, so there's something else going on here. I don't know what it is, but I just have a hard time believing that Trump could be that tone deaf. That's what I don't understand. Now, there are some people out there saying, well, the Republicans are trying to hide this file, okay? They voted against it. Well, I told you this the other day. Marjorie Taylor Greene specifically spells it out now with Benny Johnson about this vote. It was a procedural vote. It was piggybacked with an attempt to give the Democrats control of the House floor. That's why it was voted against. It wasn't specifically voted against regarding the files.
I got to correct something real quick.
Please.
So it's being reported that House Republicans unanimously voted to block the release of the Epstein files. And I want to straighten out the record right now. That is not true. If I could vote, okay. If I could vote to release the Epstein files, guys, you would have my vote. I would vote yes. Here's what just happened. It was a procedural vote, and we have these all the time. It's called a PQ. It's voting on the previous question. And if the Democrats had won the previous question, which I know sounds insane, it's one of these crazy rules in the House that are hard to understand. That means they would control the House floor. And that means they could bring up anything. They could bring up impeachment articles against President Trump. They could bring up a whole package of insane Democrat agenda items and force votes on the House floor on these things. That's what we voted against. We never allowed Democrats to have control of the House floor because we control the House floor.
Yes.
So it's a misunderstanding. And I just wanted to straighten that out.
Yeah. So that was fake news. But again, I just find it hilarious that Democrats are now making this a priority. It just shows the hypocrisy. Whatever Trump does, they do the opposite. They have bracelets on that say WWTD. What would Trump do? They look down. What would Trump do? Okay, I will do the opposite no matter what. Puppies are cute and fun and cuddly. No, they're not. Ravenous, crazy animal, rabid. Ravenous? I don't know if that's the right word. Rainbows are beautiful. No, they're not. No longer the symbol of LGBTQ plus IA, ZYN. No longer. There's nothing in the Epstein files. Yes, there is. You're hiding something. I mean, no matter what he does. Close the border. No, you're being inhumane. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's really the way they operate. So that's why I find it hilarious. Now, Mike Johnson is demanding that Ghislaine Maxwell testify. Okay? She is serving 20 years regarding this whole debacle. Take a look.
Speaker Mike Johnson pushing Bondi to do a little bit.
She needs to come forward and explain that to everybody. I like Pam. I mean, I think she's done a good job. We need the DOJ focusing on the major priorities. So let's get this thing resolved.
Well, today, President Trump, who's been tamping down the Epstein story and endorsing Pam Bondi, gave her some new latitude.
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release.
However, Jeffrey Epstein's former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, says it may not be up to Bondi.
Many of the things that are being suppressed by two judges in Manhattan, and they're doing it largely to protect the alleged accusers who are, in the view of the judges, victims. Pam Bondi and the Justice Department and Donald Trump are not responsible for that.
Part of the reason Ghislaine Maxwell, former girlfriend and associate to Jeffrey Epstein, is appealing her conviction to the U.S. Supreme Court. But Brett, the DOJ is asking the Supreme Court to deny Maxwell's review of the case and leave her in prison where she's serving a 20-year sentence for conspiring with Epstein in his abuse of underage girls. Brett?
But what's interesting is if Dershowitz is right, and it seems like he is pretty knowledgeable on this and has been a part of some of these cases, you wonder why the Attorney General is not saying all of that publicly, or the communication strategy here.
It's something that Dershowitz, yes, says it's up to two different judges. President Trump today, for the first time, we've heard him say that she has some more latitude to give out some more information. So we're going to see if she does provide some more information.
Okay. So judges are blocking it. That's the first time I've heard that. Alan Dershowitz has been very much involved in this. In fact, he was an attorney for Epstein at one point. Right. Okay. So we've already talked about that. I mean, meanwhile, like I said, you still have part of MAGA melting down, like Owen Schroyer with InfoWars, talking about. I mean, he is so mad about this. I mean, he was pardoned by Trump, as I said. So a lot of people, I think, are getting. I mean, it's disappointing. I mean, whether someone's to blame or not, whether there's something in it or not, whatever, it's disappointing. I have to just state the obvious here. Elon Musk, of course, is poking the bear, saying he should just release the files and point out which part is the hoax. Okay, Elon is certainly trying to stir the pot here. Let's see. Ro Khanna says he and Representative Massey in Congress now have the House votes to force a vote on the Epstein files. Here's what he said with Jake Tapper.
What do you make of President Trump blaming Democrats for the Epstein files brouhaha, saying that it's your party perpetrating a hoax on unsuspecting Republicans?
Jake, this is the first time he's getting ratioed on Truth Social by his own base. His own base knows that's not true. He campaigned on releasing these files. And just to update Manu, because he's always knows the details, but Thomas Massey has been texting me all day. We introduced this resolution together. He already has 7 Republicans signed up as co-sponsors, and we're going to deliver all 212 Democrats. So we already have the threshold to get a vote on this, and I expect that count is going to continue to go up today and tomorrow.
And this is to force, this is a discharge petition, right? It's going to force this bill onto the floor of the House, and then what does it say?
So it's both the discharge petition and the bill. It's the discharge petition is to force it on the House. The way it works is Thomas Massey and I introduced it yesterday. It takes 7 legislative days before you can actually go through the discharge petition. We're likely going to be in August recess. So the reality is it probably will come up for a vote after the August recess. And the bill says to release all evidence for the Epstein file, but it makes it clear that does not include any of the victim information. It does not include any child pornography. It gives the DOJ the ability to protect the victims, but to release all the other evidence and files.
All right, one theory could be, this is to place the blame on the release of Congress and others, specifically related maybe to Israel. I don't know. But we'll have some news on Israel. By the way, they ended up bombing a Catholic church by accident in Gaza. And Caroline Leavitt was asked about that, said that the president is not happy about that. So, all right, so we go to Democrats. We got Morning Joe. We got Joe Raskin. Why didn't Democrats release the files?
State Congressman, you could have gotten that from 21 to 25 when Democrats controlled the DOJ. Why? It was a crisis then. It's a crisis now. Why didn't Democrats call for it from 21 to 25?
So, I mean, you have to go back and look specifically at particular prosecutorial decisions and what was taking place in terms of the other cases. So I don't know. We could try to reconstruct that record. But the point is that Donald Trump is the one who has led the crusade to say that that Epstein, who was his very close friend, and there's all kinds of pictures of them in state.
Okay. Yeah. They were not close friends, not even close. But basically, Jamie Raskin says, the DOJ was just too busy. Just pretty busy. You mean trying to prosecute President Trump for crimes he didn't commit? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe he does have a point. He might have been actually telling the truth. The crazy thing is, though, we have polling out on Trump's approval rating from CNN. I've shown you Rasmussen saying, the approval rating's down. What is CNN saying?
And look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, They're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump. Look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% with Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at...
Say what? Quinnipiac, CNN, Republicans who approve of Trump, it's gone up? What?
The apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints or not.
You just
Again, these are somebody Lewis over on TikTok. I don't know if you're talking about this story. I have a bad habit of latching onto a comment and thinking it's about something going on the show and it has nothing to do with it. But you're saying false. This is a CNN and Quinnipiac poll. These are liberal polls. Now, granted, Quinnipiac gets it wrong a lot. But these are liberal polls. They tend to oversample liberals. It's the truth.
That not everything online is real in real life.
Who knew?
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Is there any reason that you can find that this hasn't taken hold and hurt him?
Yeah. I mean, on X, all you hear about is the Epstein files. But how about out in the real public? Republicans who said the top issue was Epstein case. The answer is one, and not 1%. One responded. This is a great little finding that Ariel Edwards-Levy, who of course is part of our polling unit, found. Just one single Republican said that the nation's top problem is in fact the Epstein case. Not much of a surprise that therefore Donald Trump's approval rating has not suffered with Republicans because of the Epstein case. Because the bottom line is most Americans say it's not high up on their priority.
I would say that's right. I mean, let me ask you this in the comments. For those of you that voted for Trump, if you didn't vote for Trump, which I'm not even going to look at TikTok, maybe a couple people on TikTok, but if you voted for Trump this time, would you vote for him again knowing that this was going to happen with the files? Go ahead, chime in the comments. But I would guess that most people would still vote for Trump despite knowing this. Not loving it, but again, this is not going to change anyone's life. It is not the biggest issue, not even, I wouldn't say even in the top 10. But it's still one of those things that you want to have released to reinforce, the whole deep state exposure aspect that Trump's base really, really, really supports. So, but to say that this is some kind of issue that would change that, no. I will say this. I mean, when it comes to Trump, I don't think it affects him really. It could be a negative mark on his legacy, but no one is going to, no one's going to care about that when they're making his library. You know what I mean? But it could negatively reflect on some Republicans in the midterm. I do think that is a possibility. So, I think it's something that you have to pay attention to, but again, it's not life-changing. And everybody, of course, is saying, Bree says 1,000, or is that 1,000,000%? Yes. David Sling says, of course, we'd still vote for him. Patty says yes. And so I think that's probably what most people would say. Fly-Fi here in the state of Arkansas says, hopefully this will work against Womack. One can hope. One can hope. All right, I'm going to go back in time here and look at some of your comments on this subject. Let's see. Tata Sue says that the Epstein files are above Trump's head, maybe above him, like people more powerful behind the scenes are controlling it. I think that's what Tata Sue means. David Sling says the Epstein jail video was a deep fake. Now they've uncovered that there are now 3 minutes missing from it, by the way. Not 3 minutes straight, but, 1 minute to get in, do the deed, another minute missing when they leave, and then another minute, for the cleanup. I don't know, but that doesn't look good. Tata Sue, Pam messed up, point blank, period. CJ says, we have been hung out to dry so long on this that we need to find the truth. We yearn for it. That's a good word. Like a dog who smells a bone that can't get to it. Yeah, it's buried. Let's see here. Some people confused about the start time. Yeah, if you didn't catch the beginning of the show, I was on Newsmax, was supposed to be on. My times got switched around, and then I was set to go on, and 40 minutes later I went on. So I waited that long because the White House press briefing just kept going and going and going. And so that is why the delay. I changed the start time like 6 times. It was exhausting. So I appreciate you guys and your patience. As I said at the very beginning of the show, hopefully there is some good news coming. I'm not going to announce it until it's 100% done, but there are some at least encouraging things going on behind the scenes here that I'll be happy to share with you when I can. David Sling, Bondi just fired Comey's daughter. That's correct. Let's see. David Sling says they have to clean out these judges before they bring the charges. CJ says regarding Trump's chronic venous insufficiency, that was announced. If you missed that earlier, it was announced that Trump has some swelling in the legs, which happens for a litany of reasons. CJ says just needs to get some shunts. That's all. He will be good to go. And he lives on Diet Coke and McDonald's. He probably is tired. I was watching Tucker, was it Tucker Carlson and that one gal? I don't know who she is. She did a good job in an interview recently. And Tucker made the statement that he's never seen Trump drink water. Like literally, water is never anywhere. I don't know that that's true. He's just saying his observation is he's never seen it happen. They also talked about, because of Trump's ability to operate on 3 hours of sleep, that they've heard, they couldn't corroborate this, right? They've heard that Trump thinks his brain should be studied because he has some kind of gene that allows it. I mean, I would say it's pretty dadgum special. So I would be interested in finding out if there is something to that. So he's like, after he dies, he wants his brain, his brain studied. Let's see. Bree says, I only sleep about 3 hours a night, and there's no way that I could keep his schedule. Right. Yeah. Bree, somebody who has multiple businesses, kids, husband, all kinds of things going on. Even Bree couldn't keep Trump's schedule. That's saying something. Rocky says the Democrats are already saying they will be releasing these files if they are elected in. David Sling says the story is the files were destroyed and they were remade by the last FBI to keep all of the people in Congress safe, and inserted Trump and others to make them seem guilty. My pushback on that point, while it's certainly valid and possible, why didn't the Democrats release them then? Or was it to get Trump caught in a political trap here? And I would say Trump is smarter than that, though, to get caught in a trap like that. I mean, so much of this could be resolved just by explaining some of these things, unless they have something else planned. But if it, I mean, it's certainly, and it seems like this is what Trump is saying, is that, it's a hoax, bunch of bull crap in there. What I don't get is why, if Trump is implicated in them, falsely implicated, why didn't they release him? Somebody, who was that? Let's see if I can go back. Hey, thank you. Got some donuts coming in, some gifts. By the way, if you want to support the show, Cap Hill has a $20 contribution on the board. That's our sole contribution. You want to support this work we're doing to bring you this content, you can do so by going to IkeReport.com using Cash App or Venmo. But Leon says Trump is hurting Mexico. Mexico is hurting us by allowing fentanyl, by allowing the cartels to run amok, and by urging people to cross the border. We've closed that down. Sorry you're hurting. It's your turn now, Mexico. That's what I would say to that. But how is he hurting them? By cutting off the meal train? CJ says Trump may trust Pam Bondi too much. David Sling, Maxwell has said she's willing to testify at the presser. One question got blurted out. Are you willing to pardon Maxwell? It was not answered. I read or heard or saw yesterday, there's something in the back of my mind that maybe it's not true. Maybe I dreamed it. Was that they dismissed that outright and said, no, that there's not going to be a pardon happening. Maybe I dreamed that up. I don't know what presser or what event it was, but for some reason that's in my mind. Patty says, wait, was Pam fired? Pam was not fired. You should be so lucky. CJ says it's every other child raper that haven't been brought. It's every other child. It's every other child raper that haven't been brought to justice. That's the issue. I don't care about Epstein. I care about the other people that are free, uncharged. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's the justice part. We want justice. We want accountability. I mean, I think the victims absolutely deserve closure, assuming they want it. David saying Maxwell is you guys are doing great on the comments. Maxwell is a deep stater. They have Epstein and he is singing, expect it all to come out this fall. Now, what's going on this fall? What's going on here? They have Epstein. Are you saying Epstein is alive? You're saying he is, not only did he not kill himself, he is not dead. Is that what you're saying? Patty says, I don't think so, David. Patty says, I was hearing things regarding Pam Bondi. MTG makes me wonder if she really is. I missed Rocky's comment. I don't see it. It's way back there. I don't know. Okay. I think this is probably correct. Everyone is over their skis. David Sling says everyone is over their skis. Bree says, I agree with the one person. I want to know about the Epstein files, but I also want to get our country back in order. Well, the one person said it was the most important issue. Bree, do you agree with that? David Sling says the other option is Zoltar and his gaggle. Now, who is that? Zoltar. Was that the guy that Epstein took over for? Bree, I agree with you. I'm just going down the comments, man. I'm going to try to get caught up before we move on to the GENUIS Act. I agree with you on the midterms. By the way, let me go over to TikTok. Mimi says the Epstein file is a garbage. I love reading comments word for word. Kitty Cat says DeSantis says he can release the Epstein files. Another anonymous user says Bondi has been paid. Okay, somebody talking about their bowel movements. Gregory, are you not concerned about the president? It seems like he's having brain fog. What are you talking about, brain fog? Specifically, what are you talking about? I find Donald Trump remarkably sharp. I'm just going to tell you, I'm 43 years old, reasonable good shape. Mentally, I'm mostly here. And when you get in front of cameras and you're being asked questions, it is hard not to stutter, stammer, and recall certain things. And rarely have I seen Trump have a problem with that. I'm just telling you, it's much harder than it looks. And so I don't see brain fog. Bree says, I agree with you on the midterms. I think we need to shift focus and make the country better, and people will not forget about it because we don't want anybody forgetting about it, but help Republicans in the midterm. So if things start going better, it'll look good for. I mean, things are going to get better, especially economically. I mean, the fact that you have 1 million illegal immigrants self-deporting and then the other deportation efforts, it's going to. I mean, think about how many houses are opening up. I mean, that's going to help some things. We need a rate cut. Bree says, I care about Epstein, but I care about what happened in Butler and things of that nature just as much. Yeah. Agreed. David Singh says, we want the Epstein files like a deer panteth for water. David Singh says, Trump did drink water at one news conference and everyone made a big deal about it. We have confirmed that water was drank. Okay, we got some Siri messages that are. Flyfi says Mexico is kicking out illegals too. Yeah, you know, if you want to become a citizen of Mexico, you know how it's way harder than it is to become an American citizen. I mean, you got to you got to pledge allegiance to Mexico and no other country and all kinds of stuff. Give me a break about Mexico. Mexico is lucky that we are their hat on the map. But I mean, I love tacos. I love the Mexican people. I mean, Mexico is great as far as the places that are, developed with resorts and things, right? All inclusive. Bree says it's not Trump's job to take care of Mexico. It's his job to take care of America. But Trump is destroying Mexico. Bree says people can criticize Trump all they want. That man is amazingly sharp. Flyfi says, prove you can cross a river. That's how you become a Mexican citizen. We're going to the river crossing portion of the citizenship application at this point. Andale. All right. Thank you for the comments. Well done. You guys are the best part of this show. Sam, Trump thought people were eating cats and dogs. Is that sharp? They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. That's what was being reported. Genius. And by the way, there were police reports of people eating the cats. And there was a woman who ate a cat in Canton, Ohio, not Springfield, Ohio. It was caught on video and everything. Now, some of that got confused as to Springfield, where a lot of people were reporting some shenanigans going on. There was a report. It was never caught as far as the evidence and person in the act. Okay? So that was happening, and Trump was had his pulse on it. I know people in Springfield, Ohio, that, it created some challenges for them, no doubt about it. What's interesting is all these people went there to protest, and then there were bomb threats, and people were like, oh, MAGA's crazy. They're so racist. It turns out they were originating from Russia. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. My favorite lines. Tracy says, no, thank you, Mexico. I would never give my money to that country. You don't want to give any pesos? No habla español? Sam, Trump loves Russia. Sam. I mean, I just could play all day with these TikTok trolls. Did you know that he is just okayed NATO to purchase more weapons for Ukraine because he is done trying to negotiate with Putin. In fact, in 50 days, he's going to levy additional tariffs on Russia. And the spending between our country and Russia has gone way down. It was, something like 20 to 30 billion at one point 4 or 5 years ago. Now it's at 3.5 billion. People go, well, that's not going to make them do what we want. It's the secondary tariffs that are going to sting heavily, because the secondary tariffs would be levied on countries like India and China for oil and gas that they purchase from Russia. 40% of their oil and gas comes from Russia. Okay? I'm sorry. 40% of Russia's sales go to China and Russia on China and India, rather. Okay, let me state that again. 40% of Russia's oil and gas exports go to India and China, and that will be subject to a huge tariff. Okay? And so these countries will not want to purchase their oil and gas from Russia in that case, which will absolutely decimate Russia's economy. So get ready, because Trump loves Russia. He is talking very tough, and he is going to play tough if they don't fall in line. So next question. Could do this all day. It's too easy. It's too freaking easy. David Sling says the river crossing requirement is a one-way test. You get a free flight back, though, if you do cross. David Sling, did they outlaw sending money back to native countries? I don't think they have done that yet. I know it's been talked about. It needs to get done. All right, the GENUIS Act. What is this? Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't like it. This week, the House is voting on the GENUIS Act, which lays the groundwork for a layered central bank digital currency, or CBDC, where Americans interact with stable coins, but behind the scenes, there are functional surveillance capabilities of a central bank digital currency. The bill is, as it's written, does not expressly ban a CBDC and does not protect self-custody. Self-custody means that you control your own money, not a third party. On January 23rd, President Trump signed an executive order on digital financial technology with two important clauses. Number one, people remain in control of their digital assets, self-custody. Number two, banning agencies from establishing a CBDC in the U.S. or abroad. The GENUIS Act does not follow President Trump's executive order because it does not ban a CBDC, and House leadership did not allow any amendments banning a CBDC. This should not be tolerated. Okay, so people in the crypto world are loving this, but the implications of a backdoor CBDC are of concern. Now, it doesn't look like it's going to be changed. And according to the recent White House press briefing just about an hour before the show, Caroline Leavitt was asked about it and said, this is in the executive order, and it will be up to Congress to codify that executive order. And people talk about these executive orders. I am not in favor of governing by executive order. However, what President Trump has done in a lot of cases is reverse crap that Biden did, but also from the standpoint of the CBDC, telegraphing, communicating to Congress and the world and our country, this is what we should be doing. Now, Congress has to get in line. So, according to the White House, that specific clause is not in this bill, but that banning of CBDC for after President Trump's presidency should be codified by Congress. Now, Alex Jones, Steve Bannon talking about this earlier.
To overstate how dangerous it is literally the mark of the beast system, a global social credit score, the ESG corporate governance systems, right down into your smart devices, your phone, the smart appliances, the AI, surveilling everyone in lifetime. As you know, China's already had it in place about 7 years. Ground robots, drones being directed by it. The goal is you can't leave 1 foot outside your house, to quote the Chinese Communist government, if you're not in good standing. You can't get on a train, you can't rent a car, you can't rent a hotel, you can't have a job. And the UN, the WEF, and others for decades, and Bill Gates has been heavily involved, have already created the standardization for this with China for a global rollout of central bank digital currencies that the nations then comport to. And essentially, it'll end up being one big global corporate new currency that would replace the dollar. So Trump wisely in the last few years said he is against any central bank digital currency system, and he would oppose one foreign, which is basically what the BRICS is forming, and that he would oppose one here. And he has supported Bitcoin and things that actually diversify currencies to the public that are free and open and open source and a competing market of currencies, which is the answer. And so it's really the ring of Sauron to bind everybody together with total control. And we have the head of the IMF and the World Bank and the International Bank of Settlements and the head of the UN and all of them. We have Tedros, the head of the WHO, saying we need a global central bank digital currency to control everything you do, to lock you down during new pandemics they've got planned. This is the mechanism. It'll be your internet ID. It'll do everything. And if we think as populists and conservatives and Christians and common sense people that we've been debanked and harassed as conservatives before, this is exponentially more dangerous. And the big international banks that the Federal Reserve is part of, private, they have said this is their holy grail, and they're really, really trying to roll it out. And so the fact that there is a pathway to this with a digital central bank digital currency dollar in this GENUIS Act, and that only MTG and you and a few others have been exposing it is a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. The frogs. Watch out for the frogs. Fluoride. Alex Jones there talking about it's the mark of the beast. He could be right. Could be right. You want Congress to put this in the bill for sure, but this bill, it's talking about crypto and stable coins and all that stuff, not explicitly, ruling out a CBDC in this bill. I would like to have it in there, but I don't look at it and say, okay, this is because they're trying to push this forward. It would make sense for it to be in the bill, but just because something's not in there that is aiming at doing something else, I don't look at it and say, oh, this is an attempt at opening the door. It's possible, but I go back to, it would be easier if it was in there, but what they should, but Congress now has to specifically act, without a doubt, to make sure that does not happen. Here's the thing, though. If we're talking about the mark of the beast and what's going to happen, it's going to happen eventually. At some point, whenever God has deemed that to start occurring in the end times, obviously you do whatever you can to fight against it. I'm just saying, if anybody is surprised by it, and actually I start to think about it, I'm like, it probably isn't an accident that it's not in there. Our government has been seized by demonic influences. Let me just take a little side note here. I watched this documentary last night. I highly, highly recommend it. It is called The Essential Church. It is a documentary following and cataloging and showing you the journey that the late, great Pastor John MacArthur's church, Grace Community Church out in California, had to go through in order to stay open during COVID. It also weaves in church history of people having to rebel against the government at times. And it also showcases two other pastors who were jailed for simply having church. Now, they were in Canada. Go figure. I highly recommend it. It's $2 on Amazon. It's called The Essential Church. It's about 2 hours. It's really well done. And there is debate on how involved or not that Christians, as being subject to Jesus Christ and giving to Caesar what is Caesar's, what Christians are to do when the government institutes certain controls. It was fascinating. It was based on scripture. And it's really remarkable because a lot of people adopt this, well, Scripture specifically spells out that we are supposed to adhere to what we are supposed to submit to our government. But what happens when submitting to the government puts you directly in contradiction to submitting and obeying the word of God, like worshiping, etc.? That is the conundrum. What I was really fascinated by is they brought you into the inner circle of their elder board and others with how they wrestled with this, how initially it was one thing, and through further study and really thinking about it and thinking about church history, they arrived at what they had to do. And it was of little chance that they would be victorious, but God. So I highly recommend it. The Essential Church. It's I can't recommend it enough. And just coming a few days after it was released 2 years ago, but just watching it a couple days after Pastor John MacArthur passed away from pneumonia, not cancer, by the way, pneumonia. It was just it was remarkable. What an astounding, courageous man of God. So I encourage you to watch it if that's something of interest. Okay, I will now get back to our regularly scheduled programming, and that is Pam Bondi has fired Maureen Comey from her job as the top DOJ Manhattan prosecutor, the daughter of James Comey. She botched the Epstein situation. She botched the Diddy situation, and on and on and on. Now, of course, this rescissions package, rescinding something, right? You guys understand what this is? A rescissions package. And you go, I don't know what that is. I didn't know what it is either because it hasn't been talked about or used for 25 years. Do you know that? Democrats, in fact, the New York Times has a story today saying that Republicans in Congress are afraid of Trump and that Trump is controlling them and they have no control and they are just his puppets. That's what the New York Times is saying based on this rescissions package that has been proposed and will be voted on, maybe being voted on right now. It's supposed to be voted on at 4 p.m. Eastern. The reason why the New York Times is saying that, well, one, they're biased and they hate Trump, but two is they're saying, wait a minute, Congress approved this funding of USAID and NPR and PBS. And so by Trump getting them to defund it, he is basically circumventing their authority. He is squelching their authority, and they're going along with it because they're just sheep that have no control. That's how they want to present it. I would beg to differ. I think it's about, for all the quirks that Elon Musk has, Doge uncovered vast waste, fraud, and abuse, and the appetite is there from the American people. Like, we do not want to fund this. We have to cut. Newt Gingrich said this. You cannot spend your way into a balanced budget. You can't do it. It's impossible for my Mexican friends. You must cut. To borrow a line from James Carville, it's the budget, stupid. Can I deviate to James Carville for a moment? James Carville, political strategist, campaign manager, really rose to prominence when he ran President Bill Clinton's campaign back in 1992 to unseat an incumbent George H.W. Bush. He worked hand in hand, by the way, with George Stephanopoulos, who's now an anchor for ABC, right? And by the way, I watched a documentary movie on Carville the other day. I think it was on HBO Max. The reason I watched it because it said, inside the Kamala Harris campaign. Well, it wasn't that much. It was a lot about James Carville's life. I was still interested because I'm interested in stupid stuff like that. But James Carville, he's the guy who always has LSU stuff on, not dressed very nice. He's bald and looks like a freaking snake with glasses on. Now, while I disagree with him on his methodology, I respect his ability and, just from a political strategy standpoint. He was one of the only ones calling out the Democrats saying, you've got to quit trying to appeal you've got to figure out a way to appeal to men and all these other things. You're picking all the wrong issues. Like, he was super critical, which I give him credit for. So the interesting thing about this documentary was, he's on the phone all the time. His phone's ringing all the time. He's like, hello. And guess who he talks to regularly? George Stephanopoulos. Still. I'm like, wait a minute, this guy, he's supposed to be an unbiased news anchor. Well, you hear in the conversations, George Stephanopoulos, ABC, saying things, I'm paraphrasing, but talking as if he's part of the Democrat Party. Yeah, if we could only get this done or that done, or hopefully this happens. And I'm like, whoa. I mean, we're hearing Stephanopoulos specifically thinking like a Democrat operative on this documentary. No question at all. I should clip it and share it because I've never seen anyone talk about this, but I watch it. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Stephanopoulos pretends that he is some kind of unbiased, just fair figure, even though he's been sued because he lied about Donald Trump being convicted of rape. But George Stephanopoulos, you can't hide. Anyway, if you're interested in that Carville documentary is on HBO Max. But back to this issue of the rescissions package, the New York Times is couching it as Trump controls everybody. Reality is the people are fed up with federal spending. We're fed up with this foreign aid spending spree. And we're talking about NPR. Literally, somebody went out there saying, I don't know if it was the NPR exec or maybe it was a PBS exec or maybe someone in Congress, I think. I don't remember because they're stupid. Basically saying people are going to die because PBS goes away. People are going to die because there's not, these people watch PBS for valuable storm warnings. By the way, I want to say thank you to a couple givers over on TikTok. Who is it? Looney Coons and Kim. Thank you for your gifts over there on TikTok. Now, I appreciate those gifts. Just so you know, TikTok takes 60%. If you want to give to this show where your entire contribution or very close to it goes to the source, me, it's your hard-earned money, you can go to IkeReport.com, Cash App or Venmo. We get all of that, Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com, as well as in the chat on Rumble. We got a $20 contribution earlier from Cap Hill Frenchie on the board. Now back to the storm warnings from PBS is what they're saying. I don't know about you. I have never seen a storm warning go across the screen on PBS. Now, I don't watch PBS very often. I did when I was a kid, reading Rainbow. Butterfly in the sky. I don't watch it now. But literally, people are going to die. Wait a minute. You still have all the free public broadcasting companies out there as well, like ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox. You can get storm warnings there. Oh, and they have this thing called a phone that gets storm warnings, and they have these other things called NOAA weather radios for like $20. You can get one and get storm warnings. So, that's a reason we should continue to fund PBS. I mean, the only people that are going to die from PBS if it went away would people that live and die by basket weaving instructional videos. I mean, I don't think we have to worry too much about this. And think of all the other media nonprofits out there that don't get a dime. Why are NPR and PBS special? We know that they're biased. We have plenty of examples of that. We'll get into some of that. But we shouldn't have to be funding propaganda on NPR from soft-spoken liberal ladies convincing us to have white guilt. And that's fresh air. Literally, NPR told us that Biden was unaffected by his horrible debate performance. What a lie. We know PBS grooms kids with all the inappropriate content that they have on that network. I'm sorry, PBS. If you want to continue that crap, fund it on your own dime. You're going to have to give out more tote bags and coffee mugs for donations, not taxpayer subsidies. Basically, what we're doing as taxpayers is we are paying to be lied to. We are paying for them to tell us lies. Why would we do that? We can get lied to for free by watching George Stephanopoulos on ABC. It makes no sense. The bill has gone back to the House. There was $400 million that the Senate decided to cut or to carve out and not cut from the House version. That $400 million is going to HIV and AIDS aid. And the deadline is Friday night, or else the money's going to go to all these places. So look for that to likely pass. But John Kennedy, some of you out there, some of your favorites, NPR CEO Catherine Marr on CNN this morning, as far as the accusations that we're biased, I'd stand up and say, please show me a story that concerns you. That's what
our newsroom. As far as the accusations that we're biased, I would stand up and say that it concerns you, because we want to know and we want to bring that conversation back to our newsroom.
Okay, so John Kennedy has taken your challenge and he has added some examples here. I wish I could do it in his voice, but I can't. Here's a clip. I'll play some of that.
I'll just read the headlines. First headline, NPR News Service. Michael Avenatti, quote, a profile of the media savvy attorney. They love Michael Avenatti. You know where Michael Avenatti is today? He's in jail. You know why? He's a crook. But for a while, he was a media darling on NPR. Here's another headline from NPR. How racism became a marketing tool for country music. I kid you not. The American taxpayers are spending $500 million a year to pay a local station to buy content that says country music is racist. Here's another headline from NPR. Donald Trump's long embrace of Vladimir Putin. Remember the Russiagate? The Steele dossier? NPR was right in there promoting it. Couple more headlines.
All right, so you get the idea. They told the American people to stop eating beef. They promoted the Russiagate conspiracy. They claimed the presidential debate performance from Biden didn't change the election days before he dropped out of the race. Kennedy says, if you believe that headline, you believe in the tooth fairy. And no evidence that biological men have an unfair advantage over biological women in sports. NPR reported that. They also reported that interstate highways are racist. Referred to rural Americans as Christian nationalists and heaped praise on the Biden administration official Rachel Levine. A dude. Okay? Just a few examples. CEO saying, hey, go ahead and show us one. There's just a few that are all egregious and should not be funded by our tax dollars. So this is a good thing. This has nothing to do with Trump controlling Congress, even though the New York Times would have you believe that. All right. So you have a hearing going on today in Congress. Mike Howell, the president of the Oversight Project, is being questioned. Apparently, Democrats were not prepared for his rebuttals related to illegal immigration, deportation, apprehensions, things like that.
So, Mr. Howell, I have a couple of questions for you. Very straightforward, yes or no. Do you support this type of treatment of human beings?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. All the other Democrats haven't asked a question, so I kind of wasn't paying attention. Can you restate it?
Okay. The detention center facility conditions in this country are atrocious. Women are being harassed. They're being dehumanized. In Arizona, they were forced to march outside in 120-degree heat until somebody fainted. I have visited these detention centers as part of my oversight responsibilities. I know you're a big fan of oversight. Do you think that is acceptable treatment of human beings by the United States of America?
For illegal aliens to be detained throughout their immigration proceedings, yes, I think it's the law.
To be treated in
I'm not taking your word for it.
Okay. On top of that, 17 million Americans were just cut off of healthcare thanks to the vote of all of the Republican colleagues over here. Meanwhile, Republicans just gave more money to ICE and DHS to the tune of $170 billion. It's now one of the largest funded agencies in the world, about 16th or 17th in terms of what a military would look like for other countries. Again, you talked about the importance of oversight, Mr. Howell. Do you believe that members of Congress are legally allowed to conduct oversight of ICE detention facilities?
As we've written extensively, the Oversight Project, because we're trying to help keep your colleagues out of jail, like Representative McIver, who was indicted. I misspoke when I said she was arrested. You as an individual member do not have oversight authority. Oversight authority by the rules of the House flows through the full House to the chairman, and that right now is held by the majority. So
it is
despite
legally
the statute
allowed.
that you cite,
Mr.
it's going to
Howell,
end up with more
reclaiming my
Democrats
time.
clogging our
Reclaiming
jails.
my time.
I want to keep you out of jail.
Reclaiming my time. Thank you. It is actually legal for members of Congress to go to detention center facilities that are operated by our government and to conduct oversight. That actually is legally allowed.
That is incorrect.
We also know that the Trump administration is funneling billions and billions of dollars to private for-profit prisons. I heard today a number of $6 billion to NGOs that you all are so concerned about. The private prison companies in this country, like Core Civic and Geo Group, are making billions of dollars in profits because of the massive, and stunning corruption. They gave billions of dollars to elect Donald Trump. Now we're making sure that they make billions of dollars. And speaking of sheer corruption and cover-ups for the ultra wealthy, Mr. Howe, I know you have spent quite a lot of time talking about the importance of releasing the Epstein files, but now you're kind of parroting Trump talking points about this being a Democratic hoax. I'm wondering if yes
What
or
did I
no,
say?
do you support the?
No, what if I parroted
Do you support
about it being a hoax?
It's a yes or no. Do you support?
No, it's not. You said something false. I'm asking you to cite what you said, which is clearly false, because I've not said what you said.
Mr. Howell, my question is, do you support the public release of the Epstein files?
My answer is written in the op-ed in the Blaze,
yes
which
or
you
no?
can read.
Yes or no?
Listen, ma'am, I am trying to answer
It's
your
a yes or
question.
no,
You are
Mr.
lying to the American people
I'm asking you a
in your
simple
misstatements. You
question.
just told a lie in this committee
Mr.
room.
Howell,
I'm
do you
trying to clear up the record.
It's very simple.
I am trying to answer if you let me speak. I think the public deserves way more transparency than we've got. I've written that. You've accused me of parroting another
It would be
talking point,
wonderful
which
if
I have not. Bring the receipts. You're lying, and everybody knows it.
Mr. Howell,
The gentleman will suspend. The gentlelady's time has
yes or no question.
the gentlelady's time has expired.
All right. Mike Howell there from the Oversight Project. That's how you handle lying Congress people. Remember, they're allowed to lie with no repercussions. Did you know that? They're protected under the law. Kind of crazy. This will make some people mad and most logical people chuckle. These are ICE agents. This is an ICE facility. And federal agents are using Trump's voice to troll Portland protesters. So apparently they have Trump AI, and they are using his voice over the loudspeaker.
This is the Federal Protective Service. The facility is closed and not open to the public. Stay out of the area of the driveway to allow for vehicular traffic. Remain on the sidewalk or across the street. Everyone must leave this restricted area and may be subject to detention or arrest for failing to depart the restricted area.
They can't handle it. That's hilarious. Well done by those federal agents in Portland. All right. Since the media is obsessed with talking about Mamdani, I mean, I know all the media is in New York, and so they're just, I got to say, the guy's a nut job. He's going to be a beautiful punching bag for the Republicans all throughout this campaign. But let's be clear. Most Americans don't give two craps about Mamdani because Mamdani, and what happens in New York City could be another country compared to most of the way the rest of our country operates. I'm just calling it like it is. Yeah, this guy's crazy, terrible, whatever. Doesn't surprise me that Democrats are backing this guy who's a communist, Marxist. I mean, another thing in that documentary that I was talking about, that Central Church, they go into Marxism and neo-Marxism and the playbook by which they take over a country. And let me tell you, I mean, they've been checking off the boxes on the Marxist playbook. And one of the biggest enemies, Marxism basically says the government is God. The government's in control. The government knows best. The biggest opposition to Marxism is the Christian church. Biggest opposition. Because as Christians, we submit to the King of Kings above all else. True Christians do. And so Marxism wants to destroy Christianity. Zohran Mamdani, and some call him Zamdani, I think is what Caroline Levitt called him earlier. He wants to destroy Christians. He is radical. As I said, and what's called a racist on Newsmax for saying, get ready, because a lot of the things he says he's for, his religion contradicts. If you like your pride flags, they ain't happening in places in Michigan where they have Muslim leadership. And they also okayed animal sacrifices in the backyard there. I was called a racist, Islamophobe. By the way, I will be debating that guy again, Ellis Hennigan, Sunday morning at 7:20 a.m. Central Time, if you want to see that. They asked me, and I was like, I do not want to get up that early because I always have to be up 2 hours before an appearance to wake my face up. I don't want to do that. I said, well, who else is on with me? Ellis. Oh, I said, I need to get another shot at this dude. I was very nice to him, and he called me names, interrupted me. That will not happen this time without a firm rebuttal. So if you are interested in getting up early and seeing that, you can check that out. But anyway, we were talking about this Mamdani guy. Well, how about this video? Mamdani says he would support the abolition of private property. Not to mention, this dude believes in taxing white property owners more than everyone else.
My platform is that every single person should have housing. And I think faced with these two options, the system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused, right? For what? And if there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that people try and play like gotcha games about these kinds of things. And it's like, look, I care more about whether somebody has a home.
Not about private property rights or anything like that. What a tool bag. What a tool bag. I mean, it's amazing that Democrats are stupid enough to vote for this guy. Okay, here's one for you. CBS News correspondent. Are you guys still there in the chat? David Sling says, some people will die and Big Bird will be the next Thanksgiving turkey. How about it? Tracy says, love Hal, love Mike Hal. Played that clip earlier. CBS News correspondent Scott McFarland says tells Chuck Todd he got PTSD after Trump's assassination attempt. Not from the shooting. No. But because the crowd blamed the media. Poor guy. Must have been so hard for him. Let's hear what he has to say.
It was such a horror because you saw an emerging America. And it wasn't the shooting, Chuck. I got diagnosed with PTSD within 48 hours. I got put on trauma leave, not because I think of the shooting, but because you saw it in the eyes, the reaction of the people. They were coming for us. If he didn't jump up with his fist, they were going to come kill us.
I know. Poor guy. Well, then you ought to be thanking President Trump. Thank you, President Trump, for having the courage to stand up and let people know that you are okay. Scott McFarland, poor guy. Give me a break. You have PTSD. The guy who got freaking shot didn't get PTSD. And I'm not diminishing someone who was there and got PTSD because of the shooting, because that would be pretty normal. But the guy who actually nearly got his head blown off stood back up, said fight, 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 and was talking about it the next day, playing golf the next day, I believe. But Scott McFarlane, has PTSD because people were mad at the media. Poor little guy. All right, let's talk about the economy. Some positive indicators here. We got Mr. Wonderful talking about this, and he was on with Fox Business earlier.
An international business guy, how would you rate Trump's success on trade deals so far?
Where I think this whole thing is going, and so far I've been right, is that Trump is putting in place effectively a VAT tax, a value-added tax, a consumption tax, but he's not calling it that. Because when you start to see tariff rates between 10 and 12%, that's a reciprocal tariff on the European countries, the Swiss, the French, the British, the Canadians. It's the same thing. They have VAT taxes around that amount. A blended rate in Canada, which is a deal being negotiated as we speak, is around 12%. Some provinces 10%, some 5%. But the point is, if you end up seeing a deal with Canada flat, reciprocal at 10, that wouldn't surprise me. It would make sense to me, and it would also not damage business. And so I would give him high marks in terms of success. People do not like to watch the sausage being made. It's difficult, but Trump doesn't give a damn. That's obvious. And he's happy to roll the cameras while all this goes on in the White House. You've seen it happen dozens of times. But if we end up globally with a reciprocal 10, 12%, I think everything works out. And the market thinks that too. That's exactly why these indices are near their all-time highs.
Okay. Mr. Wonderful. Okay. Tariffs are actually reciprocal taxes, no different than what Europe and Canada already do. And he says it's a smart play. And he doesn't care about the sausage being made. That's what a lot of people don't have the stomach for. See that sausage being made. Tariffs motivated Samsung to build a $500 million washing machine manufacturing plant in South Carolina. Wait a minute.
President Trump's tariffs are now
I thought it didn't work. This lady, the way she talks. President Trump's tariffs are going to
luring at least a couple of foreign companies to manufacture their products stateside. This includes South Korea's Samsung. They are now going to produce their washing machines out of Newberry, South Carolina. Steve Harrigan has those details for us. Hey, Steve.
Jillian, those washing machines are actually rolling off the assembly lines right behind me. There's not a whole lot of debate in Newberry, South Carolina about whether or not President Trump's tariffs help or hurt the economy. Here, they say it helps. Putting in 20 to 50% tariffs on foreign-made washing machines back in 2018 motivated Samsung to build a $500 million washing machine manufacturing plant here, making them instantly the county's largest taxpayer.
I think tariffs are a really important topic in our current environment. Even before tariffs became a really hot topic, we're trying to strive for that American dream, right? Made in America for Americans.
That factory also created more than 1,600 jobs here, starting salary of $17 an hour. That's a lot higher than the local minimum wage here of just $7.50 an hour.
Family, we just run over to the electronic area. I get a really proud feeling when I see those customers walking out of the store with product that was built here in Newberry.
Wait a minute. I thought these tariffs were going to ruin the economy. I can't let this one go. Jay over on TikTok. We got a lot of smart people in the chat on TikTok. And by smart, I mean not. Tariffs collapsed the economy into the 1920s into a deeper recession. What happened to the tariffs in 2017, 2018? Did they collapse? No. In fact, Biden kept the tariffs on. But when you're talking about this 1930-ish Hoot-Smalley Act, I think that's what it was called, or maybe it's Smoot-Hawley. That's probably what it is. Those tariffs were put on during a recession. I'm sorry, during a depression, the Great Depression. You might have heard of it. They were not implemented correctly, and that is why it failed. It is not a reason not to do tariffs. If you really, really do want to be educated about it and understand it, I did an extensive Ike report on this at ikereport.substack.com regarding tariffs. And there is a way to roll them out. They can be dangerous if done incorrectly. And one of the biggest challenges or risks to tariffs is if the economy and buyer consumer confidence goes way down before you realize the gains. In other words, if we go into a recession and people start getting cold feet and stop spending money, it could have a negative effect, which is what happened during the Great Depression because of the Great Depression and all the factors involved there. Not the same situation here, Jay. Nice try. Next. So the way these are being rolled out is actually being done really well. Now, I will say they need to be definitive, defined, specific, and done. We need to know what the rates are going to be. We're getting there. I mean, the process has to play out, okay? And we're still in the okay zone for people I talk to in manufacturing. We're still in the acceptable zone. It needs to be done by the end of August, September, though, at the latest before we start seeing problems. But I will say this, we're already seeing positive indicators, just like Mr. Wonderful said. We had a budget surplus for the first time in decades during the month of June because of tariff revenue. So we actually spent less than we made in June. Believe that? Can you believe it? So Jay can simmer down. This is working. You hate Trump. No matter what he does, it's going to be wrong. Move on. Your mental health will be better if you quit blaming Trump for everything, including things that aren't even happening. Here's an interesting aspect. This is a choke point, a challenge. Mike Rose spells it out here. We've been telling kids for a long time, become coders, right? Learn code. Become a developer. AI is coming for the coders. AI is not coming for the welders, plumbers, steam fitters, pipe fitters, HVAC technicians, and electricians. Take a look at him commenting here regarding the statistics on hundreds of thousands of jobs that are needed in these sectors now.
18 years to code. Learn to code, we said. Yeah, well, AI is coming for the coders. They're not coming for the welders. They're not coming for the plumbers. They're not coming for the steam fitters or the pipe fitters or the HVAC. They're not coming for the electricians. You know, that Ideas Festival I was telling you about in Aspen, I sat there and listened to Larry Fink say we need 500,000 electricians in the next couple of years. Not hyperbole. This is me being the alarmist again. There's not a week that goes by in my humble little foundation. It's called MicroWorks, shameless plug. We award work ethic scholarships every year, right, to kids who want to learn a skill that's in demand. These are trade school scholarships. Not a week goes by where I don't get a phone call from somebody like the Blue Forge Alliance, who oversees our maritime industrial base. That's 15,000 individual companies who are collectively charged with building and delivering 3 nuclear-powered subs to the Navy every year for 10 years, right? 2 Virginia, 1 Columbia class. Mind-bogglingly complicated. This guy calls and says, we're having a hell of a time finding tradespeople. Can you help? I said, I don't know, man. It's pretty skinny out there. How many do you need? He says 140,000. 140,000. Now, granted, over 7 years, but they need 80, 90,000 right now. These are our submarines, folks, right? Things go hypersonic, little sideways with China, Taiwan, whatever. Our aircraft carriers are no longer the point of the spear. They're vulnerable. Our submarines matter. And these guys have a pinch point because they can't find welders and electricians to get them built. Where are they? They said, we've looked everywhere. Do you know? I said, yeah, I know where they are. They're in the 8th grade, man. They're in the 8th grade. And the same thing, the automotive industry needs 80,000 collision repair and technicians. Energy, I don't even know what the number is. I hear 300, I hear 500,000 everywhere. So not to filibuster, but that's the underlying thing that I just really hope people take from this conference. There is a clear and present freak out going on right now. I've heard from 6 governors in the last 6 months. I've heard from the heads of major companies in the country. It's like a memo has gone out.
All right. So clearly you see in these certain industries, they are thriving, something to push young people toward. Somebody on TikTok says, thought this was going to be a cool place, but you ignore every question you know that makes you look bad. Like what? I don't look at TikTok very much because this show is actually for everybody that's not on TikTok, primarily for Rumble and X where free speech is allowed. We use TikTok as a discovery tool. We really want you to come over to X or Rumble because we can show you what we're playing and we can also have free speech there. TikTok, it's nothing against the good people on TikTok, but it is not where we are sort of building our platform. We have more followers there than a lot of other places, but that's because their algorithm's good. But I don't support what TikTok stands for. So we don't spend a ton of time over here. They also take 60% of every gift. So it's just for me to make you aware that this program exists. We want you to follow over. If you want to get attention for your comment, come over to X or Rumble. These comments fly by so fast, I can't be looking over here and actually deliver the goods that I'm delivering. So stop complaining. If you want to change it, follow us over to another platform. Otherwise, shut up. Okay. I'm not ignoring any question that makes me look bad because no question makes me look bad. You understand? Never. Not one. Okay? Try again. Okay. So, yeah, I know. I'm just, I'm trying to rile people up here. Let's see here. Looks like this old vet is in the chat. Welcome back, this old vet. Good to see you. All right. Now, this video broke the internet today. Okay. I keep you informed on what's going on, but I mean, whether it's, politics, news, sometimes sports, but culture as well. And this is a big cultural thing. A Coldplay concert was happening. They do the camera where they key in on people. Sometimes it's the kiss cam, if sort of like that at a sporting event. Well, they trained the camera over on a couple. Look what they did at this Coldplay concert. It's Chris Martin's talking about them. Look what they did once they realized they were on the big screen.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Either they're having an affair or they're very shy, he said. Okay? I mean, look at this. Covering the face. Literally, he goes down to the ground. What's going on here? This is all over the internet today. Allegedly, this guy is the CEO for a company called Astronomer, Andy Byron, who's having an affair with his HR chief, Kristen Cabot. They were at this concert thinking they were, hidden, and they got on the big screen. Allegedly. Okay, this is all allegedly, according to people on the internets. There's a lot of people reporting the same thing based on finding this guy through an AI image search and his lady there on LinkedIn. I tell you what, when you're up to no good, you're bound to be found out. But if at all places, a Coldplay concert, you shouldn't have been at a Coldplay concert. That's where you went wrong. And with the HR lady, I mean, come on. I mean, who do they call at that company? Well, the HR lady's in on it. So who do we call? Okay. Somebody on TikTok says that they went to high school with him. With who? The guy? The CEO? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you're talking about? This is the internet, the Wild West. You never know. You never know what's real and what's not. Anyway. Cap Hill liked the reply. I have a problem being scared of questions. Ha ha ha, says David Sling. Yeah, that's a good one, right? David Sling says it was in HR. HR always wears the Idaho hat. Get it? Idaho. HR telling you not to do things that they're actually doing. Not in all cases, but sounds like Democrats. All right. Israel launches massive attack on Syria capital Damascus. You guys seen this?
غارة جديدة وائل غارة جديدة وائل غارة ثانية غارات عنيفة جدا 4 صواريخ 4 صواريخ.
All right. So the interesting thing, according to conspiracy theorists, is that Netanyahu was in court at the time, and Israel started a massive bombing campaign in Syria, and court was adjourned. Right? Kind of suspect, isn't it? A little bit weird. Could be an explanation. I don't know, but like I said, it's been confirmed that they bombed a Catholic church in Gaza as well. President Trump not happy about that. President Trump not happy about that. X or Rumble is where you need to go. Just go over to the link in my bio. Hey, let's get some support on the board, my friends. Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. Please help us out. Or in the chat on Rumble, we have $20 on the board. I do have to say thank you to Ariel. Ariel gave $20 yesterday watching the replay, I believe, not live. So that's still an option. You can give via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com anytime. Okay? Anytime. All right, Cash App or Venmo, IkeReport.com. Let's see. I didn't have time to pull the clip because I wanted to get on air after my Newsmax hit today. It was short and sweet, but I called Hunter Biden a crackhead on the air. And I will pull that clip and post it on my X feed moments after the show if you want to see it. You can follow me at Ike Wingate, IKEWINGATE. Follow me on X if you want to make sure that you see that clip. Hunter Biden live on cable news. I called him a crackhead. Okay, so if you want to see that, check that out on my X feed. The plan would be to come back on Tuesday. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Okay, working some things out. I appreciate your patience. We're in this growing phase right now, or this change phase, and hopefully we are able to solidify some predictable schedules soon. We're working on it. And so the best way to stay informed is to go to ikenation.locals.com. If you're watching on Rumble, there's a join button. It's red. If you're watching on hit the join button. It's red. It's free. That's where I post the schedule when I know it. Hey, we're going to be live today, whatever it is. Okay. So ikenation.locals.com, or just click that red join button. So there's been a troll make it over from TikTok to X. Says, how much money does Alex Jones, the guy you're promoting as credible, owe for lying? I played a clip of him, Sam. Keep trying. Keep trying. And the frogs are gay. Sylvette says the Middle East is a dumpster fire. I've been invited to Israel with Newsmax in August. You think I should go? You think I should go? The Sylvette says it's the dumpster fire. I'm unsure. Sam says, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did promote him as credible. I was showing you his opinion. Okay? Showing you his opinion, Sam. Relax. And Alex Jones has been right about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Is it going to be the mark of the beast? I can't say it is or isn't. That's what I said at the time, Sam. Get a life. Get a life. Lori on Venmo with a $20 contribution. Thank you, Lori. Says, great show. Thanks, Lori. You're awesome. $20 contribution, Cash App or Venmo, IkeReport.com. Okay. I'll indulge Sam. Yeah. So how much money does he owe for being a liar? You talking about with Sandy Hook? I don't know. Go ask him. Go ask him. Quit deflecting. Quit yelling at me, Sam, or I'll block you. Quiet down, honey. Bless your heart. Just simmer down, Sam. Stop using exclamation points in all caps, or you will be banned. Because I don't work for you. I don't answer to you. I don't respect your opinion. I am giving you credibility right now by even acknowledging your existence. Okay? So you're lucky. You're lucky that you've been here today. This is not a show about Alex Jones. It never has been. I didn't say that everything the guy says is credible. If you've watched the show longer than 2 minutes, you would know that I say Alex Jones continually is dramatic about things, makes predictions about things, said, something big was going to happen on July 4th. Some people say it did. And I just don't buy into, sort of gaslighting and riling people up. But he has been right about a lot of things. I don't know if you know this, Sam, but no one is right 100% of the time. If that's you, Sam, you should have your own show and get out of your mom's basement. Go do something productive. Because if you're right all the time, Sam, and you're on the record talking about it day after day after day, you should be making $1 bazillion because you're like Sam Stradamus. You should definitely take advantage of the fact that you're perfect and you're right all the time, because apparently that's the standard. And anybody who's ever been wrong has no credibility whatsoever, ever. If that principle and standard was applied, Sam, you wouldn't even have an X account. So miss me with that, Sam. Miss me with it, because you're applying a standard that is impossible. It doesn't mean you believe everything the guy said, and I've offered plenty of disclaimers about Alex Jones, but the fact that I played a clip with him talking like this, Sam, and that triggered you, I think, as has been said in the comments, Sam, you should be today's triggered liberal.
It's time. It's time for today's triggered liberal.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Sam, the triggered liberal, who's probably making threats to me in my inbox right now. This is what happens. Sam, you're the one who asked for it, okay? Okay? That's all I'm saying. All right. Actually, Sam can be part one of our triggered liberal. We actually have an additional triggered liberal. This black lady, I don't know her name, but she's just identified as black woman cannot be racist to white women. That's what she said on Pierce Morgan. Maybe some of you all know
Now you can respond.
who she is. Basically says it's impossible for black women to be racist because they're black. Take a look.
Pierce,
Now you can
black
respond.
women cannot be racist to white women. Are you kidding me?
Sorry?
That makes no sense.
Sorry?
Black women cannot be racist to white women. Do you not understand that?
Oh, yes, they
understand
can.
You don't have the intellectual
Oh, yes, they
capacity
can.
to understand that.
Oh, yes,
but
they
that's
can.
Very much
And you've been
impossible.
racist to me.
That's very much
You've been
impossible.
racist to me, a white man, by saying I'm a race baiter. Yeah.
How am I racist to you? I'm black. I can't be racist
You
to
call
you.
me a race
Are you
baiter
kidding
with
me?
no
You're
evidence.
Racist to me.
When have I
You
been
can
a
be
race
racist-
baiter?
You can be racist to me.
When have I been a race
But
baiter?
I'm a powerhouse.
Tell me when I've been a race
I'm a
baiter.
powerhouse.
Well, you may be a
Pierce,
powerhouse.
Understand something.
You may be a
I'm
You may be a powerhouse.
Okay.
When have I been a race baiter?
I want you to admit that.
When have
okay?
I been a race baiter?
Okay.
When have I been a race baiter?
Okay.
This is absurd.
No, hang on. Tell me,
Honey.
Blossom. Give me one example of me race baiting. Blossom, go.
I'm here at this point. I'm just here to talk about.
Talk about what?
I said what I said.
So you don't have
I said
anything,
what I
do you?
said.
Anything.
You called me a race baiter.
No example. Big Mama's house. I don't know who this lady is, but she seems like a caricature. And literally, she thinks it's impossible for black women to be racist because they're black. It absolutely is possible, and it's happening, and it's evident, and it's clear. It's going on right here.
It's time for today's triggered liberal.
Golly. All right, my friends. If you want to contribute, one final last call, Cash App or Venmo. Of course, you can give anytime, but just the last time you're going to hear me say it today, Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. Give just for the sake of Sam, okay? Give for the sake of Sam right now to me for going against Sam in his mom's basement. Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble. We've got a $40 total today. We could sure use that, use more than that to be able to pay our expenses. That's all I'm asking for. Cash App or Venmo, IkeReport.com. Planning to be back on Tuesday. At 1 p.m. Eastern time, but check in on our locals group at ikenation.locals.com to know for sure. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If there's breaking news over the weekend, I will be sure to break in, set your notifications to on, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here. I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you spending it with me. Remember, never stop being a free and critical thinker, because the truth is always worth it. Sam, the truth is always worth it, despite what your mom says when she's making you meatloaf. Have a great day.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to The Ike Wingate Show.